Hi, I'm Tolene van Merwe, the Director UK and Ireland for the Malta Tourism Authority. We're a London-based office for the main head office back in Malta, and our role here is to promote the islands of Malta, Gozo and Comino to the UK, Ireland, consumers, trade and media. I joined Malta in October 2019 and have spent the last year and a bit navigating the pandemic. But the islands are doing really, really well, and I look forward to talking to everyone. So this may sound a bit biased, but the most significant cultural tourism experience I have had has actually been in Valletta in Malta. Growing up in South Africa, I was accustomed to a huge array of culture, but seeing Europe in newspapers and on television, I had this picture of what Europe was like with these little cobbled streets and these beautiful cafes along the side of the road with everyone just sitting there all afternoon drinking amazing coffee, the kind that you would see in Paris. And it's not something that I actually experienced when I went to Paris, but the very first time that I stepped into Valletta, it was like stepping into an open air museum. It was just an influx of incredible heritage and culture. And I instantly felt like this is the Europe that I grew up wishing I could travel to. And even though there are many restaurants in Valletta itself, the restaurants are not hugely influenced by international cuisine. There's still so much of the local culture within each dish, from starters, mains through to desserts. And then in the center of Valletta, you've got this incredible cathedral with so much history. So I was just astounded by actually just spending half a day in Valletta and just the cultural overload. So yes, despite the fact that I market and promote Malta, that honestly, truly was the most significant experience that I've had. So while Malta is the 10th smallest country in area size, it has a very rich history and a strong focus on culture, from the Phoenicians to the British that have come in contact with the archipelago throughout the centuries. Malta actually has 3 UNESCO World Heritage Sites: Valletta, one of the most concentrated historic areas in the world, the Helseflene Hippogym, and the megalithic temples. And then Malta is also home to 28 museums, several archaeological sites and temples dating way back to the Roman times. And another one of my favorite must-see is definitely Mdina, the old capital, and also subsequently known as the Silent City. Culture and heritage is not reliant on peak months. Example, sites can be enjoyed all year round. The best season actually to visit Malta is in spring. The weather is great and the typical tourist season hasn't quite started yet. Cultural events are spaced throughout the year, so this can be another way to drive the visitation outside of our peak periods. We've got spring events like Medieval Mdina, Malta International Fireworks Festival, and then a lot of local village feasts, which are quite an important part of the Maltese culture. Other cultural events, such as Victory Day, which is the 8th of September, but the events actually take place on the 7th, and Independence Day on the 21st of September. Malta is also a great destination for faith and religious tourism. It's home to over 350 churches. And Malta is famous for being one of the top diving destinations in Europe. And the best season to explore the marine gems are between April and November. And the Maltese Islands are a wreck diver's paradise that caters for all levels. So while Malta remained neutral in World War I, the island held a vital role in World War II, which explains the abundance of shipwrecks related to this period. And some of the most famous dive sites that we've got is the MV Imperial Eagle, the statue of Jesus Christ, and the Rosie tugboat. So we believe that driving visitors to lesser known areas or historical sites in countries that aren't as well known, for example, in Malta, we have the city of Mdina, that is less known than Valletta. So driving someone, the tourist there, would spread that potential over-tourism. Implementing policies or processes that limit the number of people or visitors at any one time, something that we've actually seen post-pandemic, in limiting numbers going to attractions, etc., is quite helpful, and it allows more of a visitor experience to enjoy it in their own time. And then the trend of wide open areas and outdoor spaces is becoming more popular, and this may push people away from the over touristed areas. So, and like if you think in Malta, going away out to Gozo and experiencing the vast open spaces there, doing ocean tourism, learning to dive and snorkel and being away from the usual crowds. And then regulating the large cruise ships, so particularly into the smaller ports, to reduce the number of visitors at a single time and to spread that out across a more regulated version. I think there'll be more of an interest in experiencing and learning about different cultures rather than simply sitting on a sun lounger. There will be particularly true to those that have been dealing with lockdowns or who've been unable to travel due to restrictions in place. Travelers will be so starved of wanderlust and looking for escapism, and so they may opt for off-the-grid experiences and immerse themselves into the destination's culture and communities after a long period of not seeing anyone and the same thing day in and day out, and learning how different cultures have actually come through COVID and have experienced it. I think it's got a big influence in how tourism is going to move going forward. With Malta, we've got so much history. It can transport the travelers to various different times in our history, and it will actually help them disconnect from their routine and go and live almost in the past into what it was like, and we can transport them back and we can bring them back for some sunshine and wine.